I'm going to show you how I created a cake inspired by Thiebaud in Google Drawings. I started by making a background and then I chose a gradient that I liked. Next, I'm going to make another rectangle with a gradient that will serve as a table. Remember, in addition to the gradients that are already there, you can create a custom gradient. I selected both of those shapes and grouped them by doing a right click. I'm going to build this cake from the bottom up. So I started by making an ellipse that's the bottom of the cake. Next, I added a rectangle and made sure they were the same color and they were both lined up. I copied and pasted the bottom ellipse and dragged it up to the top, which makes the look of a cylinder. I decided to add a gradient on the top, but it doesn't work on this side because there's multiple shapes. Next, I added a larger ellipse on the bottom and I'm going to send it behind the rest of the cake so that will serve as the plate. Remember, you can do Shift and the down arrow to tap it back without having to individually right-click. I looked back at the example to see the angle of a removed slice. I'm finding the center of the cake and making a straight line down using my polyline tool. And then this may take a little bit of practice to get the right angle. You can see I'm trying again here. I added an outline on the bottom of the cake to make it easier to see where I'm going. Now using the polyline tool, making sure it lines up with the top edge of the cake in the middle. That looks about right. I could have copied it and pasted it and then flipped it to the side, but I didn't think about that at the time. So now I'm just drawing another one on the opposite side that looks like it matches up. And then I'm going to change the color so it's darker on one side and lighter on the other. That helps it show up. I decided to add a little bit more of a shadow. I looked at a lot of Thiebaud's paintings to see how he did this to get the shadows in the right place. And then next, I'm trying to make a shadow that the cake is casting on the side, sending it behind. I end up fixing this later once I realized a better way to do it. And this was before I learned the shortcut to rearrange the order. But you can definitely make your cake cast a shadow. You just have to get it in the right spot. Thiebaud a lot of times made his shadows blue, so that's a really nice way to do it. Shadows tend to be cool. I also realized I had it on the wrong side of the cake, so I moved it to the other side. And then I decided to start changing the color of my cake. I made it yellow on the inside, just looked like a better, more flavorful color. Still trying to play with that shadow. Like I said, I get that figured out here pretty soon. It needs to come down to the bottom edge of the cake where it's cut, what's closest to you. But I did not realize that at the time. So I decided to go back and add outlines. We know that Thiebaud liked to have strokes of color that create those visual vibrations. So I picked the complement to what I had. Since I had blue, I picked an orange outline, and then on the orange side, I picked kind of a purpley blue. Decided to add some more lines to help the side of the cake show up and kind of play with adding strokes of color here. So I just used the line tool to do that. You can certainly play with adding any lines, wherever you think it would look good to make it look sort of like a painting. Then I decided to change the top edge of my cake, change the color of it. I made the bottom edge have a stroke that's the same color because I decided that red looked pretty good. You obviously can do totally your own colors, and your cake does not have to look like this. I just wanted to show you what I figured out as far as building with geometric forms. I added a polygon there to kind of cover up that line where the cake was cut away so that it looks like it's actually removed. I decided to add a line of frosting in the middle so it looks like the cake is built from multiple layers. So you can definitely think about details. The more details you put in, the cooler it's going to look. If you just keep it pretty simple, it's all right, but it's kind of fun to play with adding more details. Next, I decided to change the color of my cake, so I wanted to make it a nice pink frosting. I went in and picked a custom color, and then I'm going to go to my gradient and also make that a custom color. I like that a lot better than just the white on white. And here's when I finally figured out how to fix the shadow. It needs to come down to the bottom, the closest edge of the cake. I added an outline around my plate and made that nice and thick. Copied it and pasted it, and then sent it behind because I decided I wanted to make another border of color. So the easiest way to do that was to just have a slightly bigger ellipse behind it and then kind of tap that into place, adjust the size a little bit. You could think about adding frosting to your cake, like some piped details. You know, sometimes they do some fancy decorating on cakes. Here I'm just adding more stripes still. One way you can add some frosting is to use your Scribble tool. And that takes a little bit of practice, but you just draw a line with your mouse, whatever type of line you think the frosting should be. And then I picked a color and made it really thick so it looks like it's, a nice thick layer of frosting that's there for a decoration. I'm trying that around the bottom edge as well. If you wanted to be really fancy, you could even do like some happy birthday or, some type of writing on your cake. There I duplicated the layer, copied, pasted, and then flipped it horizontally to get it to line up. I decided to make it a darker color on the left side since it's in the shadow. And then, just kind of keep adjusting that a little bit till it looks right. Next, I changed my mind on what color I wanted all the background to be, because sometimes you realize that you didn't maybe make the best choice. You just have to adjust to what's happening. So I changed my gradient and made it linear so it's darker at the top and lighter at the bottom. And I did the same thing on the table. When you're done, go to File, Download as a JPEG, and then that's what you're going to turn into Classroom.